Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Game, Develop, Repeat. I'm your host, Chris. Do you play any MMOs? If so, which ones do you play? Have you played them in the past? Right? Did you have a phase where you played them a lot and then you eventually stopped because you were like, oh, I haven't been playing in a while? Or maybe you stopped because you were like, oh, I've been playing a little too much. What is your relationship with MMOs? Because for me, they're kind of a genre that I look at and I go, okay, that looks really cool. That seems really fun. But also, I don't really understand why it's fun. I want to play this game, but I don't understand why I want to play it. When I get into it, I'm enjoying it, and I don't know why I'm enjoying it. I'm just kind of being dragged forward by the game as I play it. I find that fascinating. I started experimenting with MMOs again last 2 days ago. The time really disappears when you start experimenting with MMOs. It really gets away from me very quickly. But I started playing around with World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2, and I went, oh yeah, I remember this. This is a different feeling than a lot of games. It's got a whole different vibe going on. So today we're going to dig into what makes them so different and what it is that I actually enjoy about an MMO. Let's start at the beginning. 20 years ago, the year is 2004. I am 12 years old, maybe 11, depending on the month, and I have grown up playing Diablo 2, StarCraft, and most of all, Warcraft 3. I've been competing on ranked, I've been trying to get good, I've been talking with strangers on the internet and joining guilds, joining clans, I think they were called probably, in Warcraft 3. I've been playing Night Elf. I've been working hard. I've been trying to get good. I've been playing anything other than orcs, honestly. Humans, not so much. Night Elf, first place. Undead, second place for me, as far as Warcraft 3 goes. Now, I've been playing this. I've been enjoying this. And I have been anticipating this game called World of Warcraft. It sounds like a miracle to me. I am going to get to be one of these characters in this world. I'm going to get to explore everything. I get to be a night elf. Maybe I get to do all the cool things that the demon hunter can do, or that the oh my god, priestess of the moon, there we go, can do, right? Maybe I can do starfall. What are all the things that I can do in this world? This seems fascinating to me. I can't wait to be a night elf. I can't wait to explore this world from the perspective of one individual walking around in it, right? Forgive me if you just heard a small ding from my phone. We're just going to work through that. This game was exciting. I had heard about the potential to play as a two-headed ogre. I don't know if this was ever a real design plan. Maybe it was just a myth at the time, but I had heard that you and one other person could play together and control the two different heads of this ogre, and I guess it never panned out for reasons that make sense, but it was a cool idea. And I was really looking forward to this. I had heard so many good things, and I had just a deep trust in this company. Now, as the game was coming out, I was on a little family vacation. I don't remember why. We were on a little trip. Maybe it was a weekend thing, some kind of family gathering. And so right when I was supposed to get the game, I was out of town. As a 12-year-old obsessed with this game, which hadn't even come out yet, this was one of the worst things that could have happened to me in my mind. Probably a good thing, to be honest. But I was like, I can't believe that I'm not going to be here on release. And honestly, it probably saved me trouble. I imagine release was probably a nightmare and I just never heard about it. You know how it is with projects that big. But I was thinking about it the entire vacation, the entire trip. I was just wanting to try this new game. I was playing other games on whatever computer I could find just to hold me over. I remember playing Age of Empires, and I remember trying to teach my mother Age of Empires to help her understand why I was so into games or something. And I was just trying to do anything to fend off the craving to play this game that had not even come out. That is the level of hype that I had as a 12-year-old. And then finally, we get to the game. The game comes out. I play the game, and I go, this is a good game. This is an enjoyable game. I move forward with it. I'm trying to pick a class. I keep shifting classes. I keep changing classes. I get to a certain level, switch to another. Get to a certain level, get to another. I get to the point in the game where you're walking a lot, and then I'll make a new character and go through the whole beginning zone and all this stuff. Like, whenever I hit the hard grind, it's like I couldn't get past level, 20 or 25. Like, whenever the game actually started being grindy at all, you enter the Barrens as a troll or whatever, and I go, okay, well, now I'm done. And I would just... Here's what's interesting to me. I wasn't that compelled by the combat. The combat was fine, but it wasn't the part that was really drawing me in. No, the part that was really drawing me in was the gathering professions. A little bit of the crafting professions too, but the gathering professions were really pulling me in. Something about going and mining some ore. Something about picking up some plants off the side of the road and getting better at picking up plants. Something about skinning an animal after you defeat them. All of this, and then knowing that later I could make something out of it and looking forward to it and gathering those resources and going, okay, I'm going to make something out of this, and I'm getting better and better at this every time that I do it. That was what really pulled me in. I remember you had to buy abilities using copper, silver, or gold back then. You didn't just level up and get new skills. You had to buy them, right, from a trainer. And something about that appealed to me, and I'm not sure why. It was like I was working hard for everything that this game had to give me, but also it wasn't really hard work. But more than anything, it really was the gathering. Like, yes, there's the trainers, there's this, there's that, the other. And then when I discovered fishing, I was like, ooh, this is nice. The things that didn't appeal to me were like raiding. I got to raiding and I went, whatever. I don't really want to raid. I'm not really interested in this aspect. This thing of finding the right loot, this thing of raiding, this thing of getting the right gear, like getting the loot drops. The loot drops in Diablo 2 were always deeply compelling to me. I don't know why, but the loot drops in Warcraft 3 did not really interest me. For some reason, that element of it didn't click for me. And that'll be different for everybody. I think tons of people are very into the gear grind. They get very excited about it. But for me, it never did land in World of Warcraft. Did I say Warcraft 3 a minute ago? I probably did. I meant World of Warcraft. It never landed in World of Warcraft. It landed hard in Diablo 2. It landed hard in Path of Exile. But not World of Warcraft. And I don't know why. Not Anarchy Online. Maybe a little bit for Anarchy Online. Not for Final Fantasy XIV. All of these other MMOs. All these MMOs. The loot grind never worked for me. The thing that always pulled me in was, what can I do in the world? What can I make? What can I interact with? I remember as a kid playing Elder Scrolls Morrowind. And thinking at one point, I don't remember when this was, but at one point I thought about this and I talked about it with my brother. I talked about it. Wouldn't it be amazing if this game had more players? Wouldn't it be amazing if I could be walking around in this world as it is and run into somebody else and talk with them and trade with them and give them a potion, and then their alchemy skill is not as good as mine, and I could pull a little prank on them and tell them I'm giving them a healing potion, but it's actually like a slow potion or a damage potion or something, right? For some reason, that's what I jumped to. The shenanigans. The ways you could mess with people. The ways you could, have real weird human interaction in the MMO. Like, have little scams. Have little mysteries. Who can you trust? Can you trust this person to give you a potion? Do you trust this salesman? Can you vet the potion without having a high enough alchemy skill? This was interesting to me. And then nowadays, there is an Elder Scrolls Online. I've never played it, but I feel like it doesn't live up to the imagination of it, the image I had in my brain. Even with World of Warcraft, I had a specific thing that I was so interested in. I had a dream, and World of Warcraft executes very well on the dream. It really does. But there's something missing. There's some layer there that an MMO has never quite scratched for me, and I wonder if it's just pure fantasy. I wonder if it's like VR level MMO inhabiting completely the character kind of a thing. Like maybe that's what it was. Maybe I was a 12-year-old and I was just imagining that I could actually live in the world of Warcraft, on some level, on some deeper instinctual level. Let's quickly go through the list of MMOs that I have the strongest memories of and talk about what appeals about each one. World of Warcraft, we've already mentioned. The fishing is really what appeals to me. By the way, we're creating a fishing guild in the Discord right now. If you play World of Warcraft and you want to fish with us and you want to just walk around fishing or skinning things, and that is your sole focus, mostly the fishing, if that's what you care about, we're making a guild. At least we're trying to. We'll see how it pans out, but jump into the Discord and check it out. So we are doing that. World of Warcraft, that's the stuff that appeals to me. Not the like massive gameplay, not all of this. It's the side stuff, I also played, as a kid, Everquest very, very briefly. And that one appealed to me because I could get so incredibly lost. And then I could also get like kind of weirdly powerful. And there was just so much depth and complexity. And I never did have the chance to understand that game. But it was the same idea of getting lost in the world. That one felt more like I was getting genuinely lost in a world than I was interacting with the world. And that has its own specific appeal, right? Getting a bit confused is a different feeling from World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is, you can get overwhelmed, but I don't think you can ever truly get lost in that world. EverQuest, you can get truly lost, and I've talked about this on a previous episode, but it is a whole different experience, and so that's a deep appeal for that. Now, Anarchy Online is a phenomenal MMO. I have such strong positive feelings for Anarchy Online, and it is sad to me that this game was so buggy and such a disaster for the entire time that it was out. I believe that Anarchy Online, minus all of the bugs, would have been a genuine competitor against World of Warcraft. It is such a fascinating world, incredible science fiction aesthetic. The problem was, whenever you shot an enemy, your bullet, which would be like a laser or whatever you're shooting, would shoot completely in the opposite direction of the enemy. It like did not fire out of your gun. It would just shoot in a random direction. And then that random direction had nothing to do with whether or not you hit the enemy, right? Like you would shoot, it would clearly visually miss by like 12 miles and come out of the gun at an angle that was completely impossible. And then the enemy would be like dead, critical hit. Or it would hit and it would say no damage whatsoever. That was a huge problem. Navigating the world in Anarchy Online was wild. It was so weird. There was like, as a kid at least, there was like a highway system. There's like a teleportation thing. There was a class in this game whose sole focus was helping people get places quickly. That was the point of that class. That was what they focused on. There was somebody whose focus was buffing people's equipment and changing their equipment and modifying. There was this whole element of the game of getting gear modified effectively while it's on you so that you can put on other gear that you shouldn't be able to put on, and then taking off the original gear and then keeping the good gear on and knowing that if you ever take it off, now you can't use it anymore because you had to pay somebody so much money, so many credits, I don't remember what the currency was, in order to even equip the gear in the first place. There was like this whole weird system. The game was bizarre. There was a class that used tattoos as armor. It was a beautiful game, incredible game, world that I absolutely wanted to spend more time in. Don't think it had fishing though, so maybe that's why I fell off of it. That could be why. Eventually it became, I don't know if it's still around, but the last time I checked in on it, it had like a very advertising-based model, and the community was still so cool and so inviting. There were these huge, the mounts were amazing. You could get spaceships. You could fly around in like this little platinum ship. They're so expensive. There was this like world competition thing, kind of like Horde versus Alliance in World of Warcraft, but there was a deep system that I never even touched because I always just play the beginning of these games. So many different races. Fascinating game. Absolutely fascinating game. I would love more stuff in that universe, and it's very sad to me that it didn't take off much more than it did because I deeply love that game. Now, the last one I'm going to mention is Guild Wars, and then Guild Wars 2. Never played Guild Wars. Guild Wars, well, I did. I never really played Guild Wars. You know what I mean? Like, I played, like, up to level 10 with, like, 3 classes. But it's kind of weird because I was really excited for that game. I got, like, the special edition, or the collector's edition of it as a kid. And I never got into it. But the combat was much better. The character building was much more interesting. It was a gameplay-focused MMO. And it was very, like, everything was instanced. Everything was a little bit solo feeling when you were out into the world. And then when you're in the town, you could meet all these people and whatever. So it was nice for me as a very single-player focused player. But I think that the community element was somehow even more lacking in that game than in like WoW and stuff. And that's from somebody who's always been very single player in MMOs. I've like very rarely connected with other players. I don't know why, but I've always just kind of done my own thing. Now, I'm playing with Guild Wars 2 right now. Why am I playing with Guild Wars 2? Because I want to unlock fishing. And fishing is like a level 80 unlock, but then it unlocks for your whole account. And I just want to try their fishing minigame. I'm going all in on that game just so I can try their fishing minigame. But here's my brief vibe check on this game. It's not even a review. I have not played it enough to give it a solid review. But I think what's making Guild Wars 2 fun is actually the combat and the way that you interact with the world and the way that you just run into other players, collaborate briefly, don't get punished for collaborating with them, which is really nice, at least as far as I can tell, and then just continue on about your way. You get rewarded for collaborating with people out in the wild, which is the exact opposite of like every MMO I played as a child. If somebody was fighting an enemy in an MMO and you started doing damage to that enemy too, let's say World of Warcraft, they would get mad at you for trying to steal the mob, right? In Guild Wars, there will be an event, Guild Wars 2, there'll be an event where you see a bunch of people collaborating to take down this big boss, and you should run in and fight it because you will get a reward, and everybody wants you to be there. Everybody wants your assistance. It brings people together in a way that I've not experienced in other MMOs, and I bet there's more of that the deeper that I get into it. Quick summary of just my thoughts because I've gone on for a while. There's a big social element in MMOs, which is fun for a lot of people, but for some reason is not the thing that draws me. No, the thing that draws me is interacting with the world more than the people, making the world feel real, feeling like I can find things and work with those things and create other things, right? The crafting professions, the gathering more than anything. That's huge for me. And then, yes, the social element is a part of it, but it's not as mandatory as you might think to make the game appealing. And I know that's odd, and I know a lot of people are like, why do people solo play MMOs? But I think I play it just to exist in this other world. And it has it's like a Red Dead Redemption 2 level of immersion before Red Dead Redemption 2 ever existed. And then the grinding is addictive. And the fact that you can run into some weird stranger, like even if you're not playing it socially, you can run into some dude and just like have some very odd interaction for a second and then go back to your thing. And then the grinding. The grinding is addictive. Seeing the bar go up, seeing the number get bigger, even with fishing, I'm like, ooh, now I'm up to 70 fishing. Ooh, now I'm up to 71. Yes, a little dopamine hit. I don't even know if that's the right word, but it feels good making progress at a skill. Just like every other RPG, but somehow it's more compelling in a lot of MMOs. I think they've carefully designed it to be more compelling. Speaking of design, let's try and take away some design lessons from all this. There's one design decision that stood out to me when I started playing a little bit of World of Warcraft this weekend. I went in with the one singular goal. I want to fish. I want to grind fishing. My whole goal is to become a great fisherman, the greatest fisherman. And so I went in with that mindset. I made a character that is designed to be a fisherman, right? Troll hunter, spawn in an area with lots of water and be a hunter. It makes sense. And I go into this and I go, okay, I've caught all these fish. What do I do with them? Well, I can cook them. It would make sense for me to cook them. Okay, so what recipes do we have for cooking these fish? Also, what other fish can I catch? I look at the store. I can't find a recipe for a type of fish that I found, but I know there must be a recipe that uses this fish because it's a cooking ingredient. It's a fish. Of course I can cook it. So now I'm wondering and I'm going, where can I find this recipe? How can I learn how to cook this fish? I guess nobody in this town knows, which is odd because this is the town where this fish spawns so much. But I guess now I have to explore. And there was a phase I always thought, man, why can't I just get the recipe in the town where I catch the fish the most? Why isn't this recipe available in every town? Why can't I just get this freaking recipe? Because the game is inviting me, forcing me even, to explore to reach my goals. It's going, oh, you want to fish and cook? You want to cook your fish? You're going to have to go and find the recipe. Go explore the world. Now, because of the internet and because of guides, that invitation works a little differently than it used to. You see that invitation and you go, man, this game is inviting me to do a Google search. But it's also inviting you to explore the world and find those recipes. So now you went in with one goal, and now there are obstacles to your goal, and they're pretty straightforward, but you have to explore. You have to inhabit this world. You have to do a search. You have to go, okay, what merchant might have the fishing related stuff that I want, or the skinning related stuff, or whatever the profession is that you want to pursue. Where can I go to learn more about this? Now you're on a journey for knowledge within this bigger journey to save the world. I don't care about saving the world in an MMO. I'm sorry, but I don't. It's nonsense. I see all these other players who are also saving the world. There's nothing immersive about it. I don't care in the slightest. Oh, I'm saving the world from this big demon. So is everybody else. Go away. Shut up. I don't care. Right? That's me with MMOs. That may not be you, but that's how it affects me. But I absolutely care about finding out how to do this new recipe that I'm seeking out, right? And if I have to save the world in the process of getting better at fishing, fine, I'll save the world just so I can get to these other fish and sell them. Okay, fair enough. I'll do it. Fine, right? But I don't want to go on this epic adventure. I want to explore the world. And I love that element of these games. So the design thing that I'm getting at here is they have these interconnected goals. They have these intertwined tasks, right? You go into World of Warcraft and you go, I just want to be good at making metal armor. Well, congratulations. Now you got to save the world, Oh, you just want to be good at this one thing? Okay, well, here are the steps to get there. And you're going to kind of be pulled into those steps and dragged along this journey of you have to at least get to this point, right? In order to get this good at the thing. And then you end up sampling all the mechanics, and you can fully ignore things as you want to. You can at any point say, you know what, I don't care about getting that far along in the metalworking. I just want to go mine things and then make them into this thing and then sell it on the market. That's all I feel like doing. I don't know why, but that's just what I enjoy. Oh, I just want to go fishing. Well, why? I don't know. That's just what I enjoy. I just want to gather leather and sell it to people. Because why? Who cares? You may just have some random little thing that sticks out to you as fun in the game. Good. Go enjoy it. That is so cool and such a weird niche little design. And yes, it's all built into this economy. And yes, it's all built into this world and this epic story and all of this stuff and all these classes and all these things you can explore and these different enemies you can fight and spells and enchantments and whatever. You've got all this variety. But you, as the individual player, can ignore whatever you want to. Simultaneously, there's an element of the development of this game. There's an element of the design, I should say, of this game that pulls you forward constantly. There's something about this game that is constantly pulling on you. And if you can't just fully shut that off, the game will just drag you through the story. There's this quest log that's always on. There's always these markers on the map. It's always telling you do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. There's always something new to do, and you should do it, and it's some important reason, and there's a gold thing, and there's shiny colors when you complete the quest, and oh my god, you got so much money and rewards, and let's keep going and going and going and going. There's a compulsion to World of Warcraft. There is an element of the design that is made to make you chase the dragon. You know that term used in like addiction? Not to draw an over-the-top parallel here, but there is something addictive about the game. There is something about the game that just drags you forward. It grabs you and it goes, you're coming with me, and pulls. And then there are also elements that are deeply entertaining. There are also elements that are just fundamentally entertaining, but a lot of that addictive gameplay is tied into the entertaining gameplay. And it is such a hard line to draw. This is why I'm so fascinated by MMOs. I want to know where that line is, because MMOs bring up the question of ethics in gaming more than any other genre. MMOs are the games that make me look at them and go, is this good for us? Is this a positive thing for society? I look at an indie game and I go, this is great. Objectively, in almost every case, right? In a lot of indie games, I look at it, I go, this is going to help somebody explore their thoughts about this thing, or help them gain perspective, or just be a fun experience for 8 hours and help them unwind. There's so many things that make this just a good thing. I look at an MMO and I go, there's a blurry line in here somewhere. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad, but there's something in the design of an MMO. And I think it has to do with the developer's motivation. I think one of the things about an MMO, or the company's motivation maybe, the financial incentive in MMOs gets really jacked up. There's a financial incentive to keep the player playing. I don't like that. I don't like microtransactions for the same reason. There is an incentive. You as the developer, you as the company developing the game, you as the whatever, are being incentivized by your own model. You've put yourself in this situation. You are incentivized to keep people hooked and keep them playing as much as possible and get them comparing themselves with others, right? Cosmetics in MMOs are such a comparison game. It takes a lot to go into an MMO and not care about having your character look cool when everybody around you looks so freaking cool, right? It takes a lot of like awareness to go, I don't need cosmetics, whatever. Because it looks cool, and the whole game is designed around making you want to look cool so you can be so epic and powerful and awesome. And I just think there's a motivational issue. I think there's a fundamental problem that drives towards comparison-based gameplay, that drives towards addiction-based gameplay, keeping them playing, turning it into a habit, making them never stop, do it every day, go back in, go back in, go back in. At the same time, there is stuff in these games that is good. It's like you can see the combat going on within the company between people who are trying to make just a really good game and people who are trying to monetize the ever-living crap out of every single element of the gameplay that they possibly can. It's like the game is both fun and addictive, and that makes it even more addictive. I want to know what the entertaining aspects of an MMO are, separate from the addictive aspects. And this is why I'm so interested in Guild Wars 2, because their monetization model is less motivated towards keeping people playing. They are less incentivized to keep you to keep playing, to get you to keep playing, excuse me. They do have some kind of a microtransaction shop going on. That does exist, and I'm curious what they're doing there, because that could easily get out of hand. But their model is buy it once, play it for life, right? So then how does that change the gameplay? How does that change the design? What does an MMO look like when it doesn't have this monthly subscription incentive? I'm going to explore that a little bit with Guild Wars 2 for sure. I think the real design lesson here is that it's important to notice what the entertaining parts are versus just the compelling parts, right? There are parts of World of Warcraft, the little pet battlers. Those are really cool. The fishing is weirdly entertaining, and I don't know why. Is it entertaining because of the world it's connected to? Probably. But what's the part that's just addictive? Is it the flashing lights? Is it the quest log? Is it the fact that every time you finish a quest, you get another without space to explore the world? There's never just a time where you can just look around and go, ooh, nice. It's always pulling you somewhere. Is that it? What are the elements of that game that are just there to be addictive, that are just there to keep you playing? I think daily quests are probably just there to keep you playing. That would be my guess. But then those quests themselves, they try to make them entertaining. But I think the core motivation is you're going to keep playing this. That's why you get this reward. This is the best way to get this reward, and so on and so on and so on. Something like PvP, that seems more entertaining. But then the reward system tied into it, it's so confusing. And I would encourage you to, if you play MMOs, investigate this a little bit, because I don't have enough. I have a lot of old experience in the genre. I don't have enough modern experience with the genre. I went through a lot of the free trial of Final Fantasy XIV and found it not compelling at all. People praise that game so much. I just went through the base game. I didn't start going into the expansion content, and there were things in it that I loved, but there were things in it that I just went, why do people enjoy this so much? I understand why it's enjoyable, but the gameplay is not challenging. It's not roping me in. I'm confused here. So anyway, if you are, by the way, it is a good game, just to get that out of the way. I don't want you to think I'm a hater. It's a good game, objectively. It's just, who is it for, right? It's like a good collection game. It's a good world exploration thing. The point I'm making is if you're deep in on the MMO genre, or you know somebody who is, or you're in this whole thing, really think about or pay attention to the aspects of this game that are actually entertaining, fun, satisfying, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be specifically fun, right? Emotionally compelling, whatever it is, versus that feeling that's just, I want to keep going. Where is the I want to keep going coming from? Is it from having a good time, or is it from being like dragged forward? Because that is a very interesting part of this genre, and it's kind of, I feel like it's getting more widespread across other genres as the services model blew up. It became more widespread. Like as games as a service became a bigger thing, I think it became a bigger part of game design, and I think it's more important than ever to pay attention to which design elements are included for which reasons. Couple of questions to close things out and get you thinking about game design. What is the most entertaining or satisfying game you've ever played? The most enjoyable game, let's say. For me, I've got a lot of these. Stardew Valley, Subnautica, Cook Serve Delicious 3. There are so many options here. Hollow Knight is getting in there for sure. That is an incredible game. These are all entertaining without being that addictive. Oddly enough, Stardew Valley's a little bit addictive. But I want you to think about that. And then I've got another question for you. What is the most addictive game you've ever played? Right? World of Warcraft is the obvious choice, but I think more than that, and this may come as a surprise. I've talked about this game before on the podcast. Maybe some of you remember. Without a doubt, the single most addictive game I have ever played was Forager. Forager, the indie title with like all the crafting. That game was I started playing that game and I had to, like, I realized while I was playing it, I was like, this is what playing a slot machine feels like for people who are addicted to it. I was playing the game and I was like, I'm glad this game has an end point. Otherwise, this would be a problem for me. This game is so addictive. It was like one of the strongest gameplay loops I've ever interacted with, and I'm so glad that I didn't get fully hooked in on that game. Like, it didn't have the replayability to destroy months of my life. I don't know. It was like all the flashing lights and the sound effects and all this stuff. It felt like a freaking slot machine. It was crazy. And it also taught me to never try using a slot machine because apparently it might be effective on me. Okay. That's one for me for sure. And then oddly enough, wait, what was it? There was another one that came to mind while I was talking about that. Forager is a big one, definitely. World of Warcraft. There are other ones that just suck me in. Oh, Tales of Maj-Eyal, a roguelike. Tales of Maj-Eyal was so weirdly addictive. And people have this with like Civilization 5 as well. It can be different for everybody, but that's when I start wondering, what is the addictive part and what is the entertaining part? What is it that's just pulling me forward? Is it the just one turn feeling? Isn't that fascinating? Okay, last bit. It's kind of an invitation more than a question. I guess this is the tip this week. I think we should notice the differences in different forms of fun or entertainment or satisfaction or whatever. Like, just notice the subtle difference between this is fun, this is satisfying, this is emotionally compelling, this is addictive, this has me hooked, this is beautiful. Like a game like Eastshade is like beautiful and relaxing. So relaxing. This is something I've been very invested in recently. Figuring out the different versions of entertaining video game. Different angles that people take to make a good game. So I invite you to think about that too. Maybe don't overthink it like I do. I also invite you to, if you do play World of Warcraft and this doesn't re-trigger some massive WoW addiction, because that is a thing, we are starting a fishing guild. You can pop in the Discord. I've made a chat channel specifically for it. We'll see how it goes for people listening from the future. Pop in and find out whether or not this ended up being a thing that we kept. If we don't keep it, I will find an alternative fishing game probably, because I want a community fishing game. I think that would be fun. I meant to give you a check-in on my development. Development is going steady. It's on twitch.tv/AnxiousBuddhaGames if you want to watch me develop. We've got a month done of the new project that we're working on. I've got a basic gameplay loop, and I'm just trying to make it feel a little better. There's just something missing, and I haven't quite figured it out, and that's why I'm getting so deep into analyzing what is making fishing games compelling in MMOs, because ultimately they were the inspiration behind this game idea. Okay. I think that's about it. You can join the Discord. You can watch the Twitch channel. You can do whatever way you want to interact with us. That's perfect. Oh, I never do the shout out, but if you want to rate this podcast on whatever platform you listen on, it does help me, and I do appreciate it. But that is everything. I'm going to let you guys go. We had an extra short one last time. We have an extra long one this time. Enjoy. I will see you next week. Until then, get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. What kind of fun, though? I don't know. You'll have to figure that out. Have fun with it. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.